Hello and welcome. You're watching Financial Quotient, a conversation about women and their money. I'm Sumaira Apti. We begin today with the story of Sanjana Yadav, the wife of a manual scavenger who worked his way to earning himself a PhD. Sanjana herself studied law. A truly inspirational story, if ever there was one.
मेरा नाम एडवोकेट संजना सुनील यादव है। मेरी पढ़ाई बीए, एलएलबी और अभी मैंने एलएलएम कंप्लीट किया है। मैं गांव से थी, शहर में जब शादी के बाद आई तो बहुत ही डिफ़िकल्ट क्योंकि सब कल्चर ही अलग था। मैं सास के साथ रहती थी लेकिन सब फाइनेंशियल मेरी सास ही देखती थी और वो अच्छे तरह से देखती थी। लेकिन जब मुझ पे सब आके गिरा तो बहुत ही भारी गिरा क्योंकि मुझे दाल आटे का भाव ही मालूम नहीं था। तब मैंने सोचा कि नहीं, अपना खुद का भी कुछ वजूद चाहिए। पढ़ाई का इम्पोर्टेंस पता चला, हस्बैंड ने शुरू किया। वो आगे जाने के बाद उन्होंने मुझे प्रोत्साहित किया कि नहीं संजना, अभी तुझे भी पढ़ना होगा। उनके सपोर्ट के बिना मुझे ये पॉसिबल ही नहीं था। ट्रेन से रह रहे, ना बैंक बैलेंस है, कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन आगे जाके मेरी बेटियों की पढ़ाई अच्छे से हो। हमारा एक भले बड़ा नहीं छोटा सा घर हो, लेकिन हमें हमारे बेटियों को अच्छी एजुकेशन देनी है और वो इंग्लिश में ही देनी है। इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए तो कंडीशन नहीं थी, लेकिन एक बार करने की कोशिश की तो बहुत लॉस हुआ उसमें। तो आगे जाके मैं मेरी बेटियों की पढ़ाई के लिए इन्वेस्ट करना है मुझे, तो उसके लिए मैं सीख रही हूँ कि कौन से इन्वेस्टमेंट अच्छी है और वो सीख के समझ के ही मैं आगे इन्वेस्टमेंट करूँगी।
Well, so that's the story of Sanjana. And, she and her husband are not alone. There are everyday people who have, come up in life against the greatest of odds. And a lot of them, or at least some of them at least, have said that, they have faced losses in their investments. And that is perhaps the greatest casualty in the cause of promoting financial savings, is that a lot of people have bad experiences which keep them from having better experiences in the future. So how can their trust be regained? How can we take now the first steps towards helping them realize a future which is full of potential? So let me invite two experts, Mahesh Patil, Chief Investment Officer at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC, and Binaifar Malankar, Chief Investor Officer at Ray Global Investments. So thanks very much, Mahesh and Binaifar, for joining in. But Mahesh, my first question is on women like Sanjana, so in any case, a lot of them would be conservative to begin with, right? Now, how do we begin to re-educate them so that the bitter experiences of the past don't cast a shadow on what could be perhaps better experiences of the future?
Yeah, thanks. I think the irony is that bad news travels faster than good news. And especially in markets, we have seen that while there are people who have lost money, had a bad experience, but there are many people who have created good amount of wealth, and there are enough success stories which are there, which one needs to really talk about those. And the fact is that the market, if you look at the Sensex, okay, it's currently at around 60,000 or so. And we know that longer term markets have given returns in double digits, which is well in excess of inflation. And I mean, financial markets and especially equity markets are known to be volatile. They are like a roller coaster. And depending on where you enter, okay, you could have an experience. But I think if you are really taking a longer term view, the fact is that the longer term returns are really good over there. So people like Sanjana and husband Sunil need to realize that they need to put their savings properly. And especially in the scenario currently where interest rates are low, the savings need to actually generate return which is higher than inflation. And accordingly, they need to really start doing their planning. So instead of traditional savings products, they need to really look at other alternatives. And I would say that even for a conservative investor, okay, like say Sanjana and say who are slightly risk averse, looks like, and the risk is actually not participating into financial markets.
Yeah.
If you really want to take care of your long-term needs. And that's where I think there are various ways in which you can mitigate the risk of financial markets or the volatility, either through asset allocation, okay, wherein you can diversify across asset classes, through proper rebalancing of the portfolio, taking a longer term view, okay, because as we increase the time horizon, we know that the losses in the market go down.
Yeah.
So I think all these things need to be really brought forward, and through various programs need to be told to people like Sanjana, and then showing them that markets indeed over a longer term have given good returns, while short-term experiences could be different. I think that's the only way by which we can probably gain the trust and ask people to really start planning for their future.
Yeah, so making the right investment is, or perhaps helping them, make their first correct choices is perhaps going to be the building blocks, of a more fruitful investing career. Benaifa, it's not that Indian women are completely unaware of the concept of, wealth preservation, growth, because, after all, we have one of the largest or the largest deposit of privately held gold in the world, right? Now we're saying in 2020-21 that, it's the highest amount of household savings which are flowing into the Indian market. But by Indian women investors, not yet in a meaningful manner. So what is that first step? How do they begin that journey?
Yeah, thanks, Samira. I think Indian women are really conservative when it comes to stepping into the finance and investment world. I think they need to unshackle that, first, and assume that they know more than what the other person knows. So I think the first step would be start small. Start something that you would find simple to understand. I think that will be really good. Also, they could start at some regular intervals. So instead of just putting one shot something at one particular point in time and then waiting for it to result, I think make it a monthly habit. If you can spare a certain amount of money, I think just like they would end up doing, when they make investments into gold when they save some surplus monies. On the other side, the better way to approach gold, in my view, would be to actually go through the gold ETF route, go through the sovereign bond fund, gold bond funds route. I think that would be the real easier way for them to step in to begin with. And I understand that there's a lot of, when you open mutual funds and try to understand what's happening, there's a laundry list of schemes and you kind of feel terrified by it and shut it down in the beginning itself. But I think the simple pointer that I could give some of them is if you want to select, some schemes which are of a larger size, maybe 20,000 crores and more, start by investing in SIPs or systematic transfer plans into them at a regular basis. And on the other hand, if you have some lump sum investments that you'd like to make, then I think select some schemes which are in the range of 3,000 to 7,000 crores, where you could kind of, put in some investments to start with. So these would be a few of the points that I think should help them get in. Of course, tax saving schemes are always there. And I think most investors or women investors in India that I know, they begin with that. So I think these are some of the things that you could do.
Okay, so then let me toss it to Mahesh, because, Mahesh, you're heading one of the largest mutual fund houses, right? So when a novice retail investor opens their demat account, first they'll see what 44, now 45, 46 AMCs, over 2,000 schemes. And the first instance is that, I'm just too overwhelmed and, I'm never going to be able to find what's right for me, right? So you tell us, Mahesh, how does a person realistically or scientifically narrow down this process and find what's good for them?
You're right about it. I mean, it can initially be overwhelming in deciding the barrage of funds which are there in different categories of funds. But the fact is that if you look at it in India, we've seen the SIP accounts have grown significantly. We have currently around 3.8 crore SIP accounts in the country. And every month, those investors pour in around 10,000 crores into the mutual fund industry. So that this couldn't have happened, without the ease of doing the transactions and also enabling technology, to reach out to so many people. So I think there's a good work, a lot of work done by the top AMCs through the investor education programs, along with AMFI. And we at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC have conducted over 10,000 investor education programs, through which we would have reached to around more than 1 lakh of investors, wherein we make them learn. The first-time investors were really not tested the markets, to make them learn various aspects in terms of, first is to identify their own investment needs, then mapping that to their financial goals, and understanding what is their risk-taking ability, and then trying to choose which is the right product, mutual fund scheme which they need to invest in. So that's what I think we are trying to do as an industry. And also the role of investment advisors, becomes very important over here to guide individuals. And most of the investments which is happening in the country is through the investment advisory route, though direct investments is also picking up. And I would like to give an analogy over here. I mean, it looks overwhelming. I mean, we all know that we probably buy more mobile phones than mutual fund units, right, in a year. And again, you've got so many companies with so many models. There are hundreds of mobile phones, but a person, when he goes in the market, he's very clear which model he's looking for, right? By comparing the various features of the phone, the prices of his budget, various testimonials which are there, and he takes a decision. Similarly, I think there are multiple platforms which are there now, digital platforms which are there, which enable one to compare across mutual fund schemes, rank them, and then really looking at the past track record. And that's one of the tools which is there, I think, which we can use to identify which is the fund which is best suited for you. Or alternatively, I think like what we have done is we have come with one single product, like an asset allocation fund or a financial planning fund, which integrates of all the funds, which we have, and does the asset allocation on behalf of the investor, and provides more of a seamless experience to the investor. So if they're confused, they can invest into one single fund, which can be an asset allocation fund. So and that's the way one can demystify all the complications which one sees and gets overwhelmed, when first starts to make the first step.
No, absolutely. And, there's no other way than to educate yourself. And, you just have to overcome the fear once and for all. And, I must admit, in keeping with Mahesh's answer, that I find it very difficult to, for example, select a phone. But I'm going to do just that is, learn up on how to select a phone. So it's not that difficult. But anyway, we have to take a very quick break. There's lots more lined up on the other side. So keep it with Financial Quotient.
Indian women comprise only 5% of the crypto space. ZPay is combating this discrimination through the use of the world's first functioning, women's-only, decentralized autonomous organization. A DAO is a set of self-executing rules built on the blockchain that give employees a voice in the decision-making process. Resolutions are passed through majority vote. This results in the reduction of the power of the leadership and the empowerment of the women in the organization.
आग को फैलने से रोकना मुश्किल है, पर नामुमकिन नहीं। अब फायरवॉल टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ सेंचुरी प्लाई आग से बचाए।
तुझे पता है इतनी बारीकी से चुनकर बनता है दावत?
अभी नहीं बना है।
दाना 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 2 साल तक संभाल कर रखता हूँ।
बन गया दावत?
हाँ?
नहीं बना।
अभी नहीं बना ना?
जनाब, अब बन गया है दावत।
चुनकर, बचाकर, संभालकर, सजाकर ही बासमती बनता है दावत। तभी तो फर्क दिखता है चेहरों पे, दिलों में, रिश्तों में। दावत बनेगा तो फर्क दिखेगा।
Indian women comprise only 5% of the crypto space. ZPay is combating this discrimination through the use of the world's first functioning, women's-only, decentralized autonomous organization. A DAO is a set of self-executing rules built on the blockchain that give employees a voice in the decision-making process. Resolutions are passed through majority vote. This results in the reduction of the power of the leadership and the empowerment of the women in the organization.
Hi, welcome back. We're speaking with Mahesh Patil, Chief Investment Officer at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC, and Binayfer Malankar, Chief Investment Officer at Ray Global Investments. And they're on the show with us. So we've spoken a little bit about how to take the first steps. But, Binayfer, when you speak to most people, not just women, and you say that, what was your first investment? Invariably, they'll say, I have so-and-so insurance policy. Some of them may have 10, even 20. So insurance is, misunderstood to mean an investment, right? So now, since we're talking about women, who are the women who actually need insurance, and what is the need that it will fulfill?
Sure. So, in my view, insurance is a very, very important part of asset allocation, or even just each one individual, whether a man or a woman, should have an insurance investment. Whilst you'll understand that insurances of various types, I think what I'm referring to more is the term life insurance bit. It only secures your life against any eventuality that you might have unforeseen, or of course it might mature at a certain point when you, as in which policy you have selected. But it should not be misunderstood as investment. That's the first thing. It's something, and who should be looking at it? I think all women should have an insurance policy. But in my view, it could be, the Gen Z young adults who are nowadays, more equipped with how to make decisions. You could have the sole earners of the family who would also, should have insurance on them. But of course, single mothers, for the benefit of the legacy that they can leave behind for their children. And I definitely think one class of women who should definitely have insurance is the other dependent housewives. I think these are women who are always undermining themselves for their worth. They manage to save money on their side by, kind of saving out of whatever they spend on the house. I think it's prudent for them to look at investment into insurance. One is, of course, into health insurance because they could, make the burden a little lesser for them as being dependent. And also for life, because they could leave back a legacy for their children.
Fair enough. Mahesh, one of the other things is that women are understood to be very goal-oriented, right? I want to go on a holiday, so let me save money for that. I need to, do up this part of my house, let me save money for that. I need some jewelry, let me save money for that. But the whole point is that while they have goals, the goals themselves are consumption-oriented, right? The long-term goal of wealth creation or, planning for retirement somehow doesn't figure in the list, or at least, the top of the list. As well, I read this, statistic somewhere that there are more women living alone than men. So does it, how big of a worry is the fact that these women might just outlive their savings, and therefore, how do you realign their shorter term goals to, the longer term one? I think, Mahesh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry for that. No, I would slightly tend to disagree over here. I think probably it's the opposite. I think we all know that traditionally in India, women are the ones who are normally saved for contingency, for a wedding, or for any high budget occasion. So it's not necessarily they have a short-term goal orientation. They indeed even plan for long-term goals. Probably it's more towards meeting their consumption. Okay, that's where probably the challenge is. And I would say women, they have this art or a natural trait, okay, where they know, right, when to save. And interesting factor is that women possess delayed gratification. They want to wait to save for a holiday or to buy a jewelry item, that sort. And I think that is a trait which needs to really ignite, okay, and take advantage of that, and how you can use that to really plan for longer term goals. Even in my house, in my family, while I'm an investment professional, but it is my wife actually who manages all the financial saving. And so that, I think it comes naturally to women, I would say. And it's just about trying to make them realize that they need to take interest. You really ignite their desire to know more about finances and to accept that investing into financial markets, despite all its volatility, is a legitimate investment option because that is the only way where they can create enough amount of savings, okay, which can meet their goals. And I think that initiative can be done only through education. And we at Aditya Birla AMC also have launched for her initiative with a similar objective where we would like to reach out to millions of Indian women and empower them, make them financially independent with the right knowledge about personal finance, what are the various investment avenues they can invest in, especially the mutual fund route. And I think once that empowerment is given, the education is given, I think the Indian woman, okay, whether she is staying alone or in a family, I think she can be the best planner, financial planner into the household, which can channelize all the savings into the right investment so that the overall returns are enough to not only take care of inflation, but also to meet the longer term goals.
Yeah, on that very, very optimistic note, Mahesh Binayfer, thank you very much for joining in today. I mean, I would have loved to just go on and on with this subject that we're all, so passionate about, but that's all the time we have. Thank you very much indeed for joining in. So, some of the key takeaways that have come through from this show today about, how do you get started? One is, of course, keep it simple, keep it realistic. Invest at regular intervals, like Binayfer said. I mean, that's really the way to really get started. And the one commodity that we all love, our one investment in gold, well, try to do it, the ETF route. That is going to be very, very helpful for you. And also the point which was made by Mahesh on advisors. Look for advisors who are, trustworthy, who are transparent about themselves, their own investments. So these are some of the key takeaways that you might want to keep in mind. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. And as we wind up, we also leave you with one of our women who inspire.
When it comes to your investment journey, I think there are very, very important 3 friends which I keep saying is every woman or every person should have. And those 3 words are what, why, and how. You need to know what is it that you want. What is that you want with your life, with your career, with your family, and every aspect. Once you have that clarity, now you need to make a step that how do I achieve that particular. What kind of a finances I would require, at what point of a time you'll require those kind of a finances, what kind of a cash flow, understand those aspects and start planning. The most important aspect happens is you need to keep investing in yourself, learn and learn. So when you are able to put value on the table, the person start accepting it to you, and then the gender becomes secondary and the value that you're putting on the tables become primary. Take charge of yourself. You are the first and foremost priority for yourself. The moment you prioritize your life, your goal, your career, your family, please rest assured everything else will fall in place.